Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for inviting me for this lecture. This lecture is a part of foundation course for first MBBS students at St. GS Medical College and KM Hospital. And the topic for today's lecture is various career pathways and opportunities for personal growth. And I'm Dr. Sushruth Ingavle, UG from St. GS Medical College, and currently third year of medicine resident at KM Hospital, Mumbai. Thank you for the departments of Anat Physio and Biology and Biochemistry for inviting me for this session. So first, I took a poll of first MBBS students. What were their reasons to join MBBS? A, did they join by their gut feeling that they wanted to be a doctor? And second, was their decision of joining MBBS, whether it was influenced by parents, other family members, or any other distant relatives? And not surprisingly, we found that it was that the majority of the students were influenced by family members, especially parents, to get into MBBS. Why is it that we are not able to take our own decisions? Is because we are not well informed. Currently, you are pursuing the degree of MBBS, and henceforth, after you pass out from MBBS, you are going to pursue a career. So it is very important that you are very well informed about the pathways that you are going to have, so that you can plan your life accordingly. With this note, I just want to say two things. Choose a job you love, and you will never have to work a day in your life. And find out what you like doing best and get someone to pay you for doing it. So what are the pathways after MBBS? First is hardcore medicine pathways, that you take medicine education, and after that you build a career into the field of in the field of medicine. And there is something also beyond medicine, that is medicine plus pathways and outside medicine pathways. Medicine plus pathways is you are going to pursue an education in medicine, but you are also going to acquire some skills outside medicine, and your career will have only a part of medical knowledge, and it will also have knowledge from other fields. While outside medicine pathways is like you are going to pursue medical education, but maybe you're ultimately end up taking a career where you are not really linked to the medical education. So first have look at hardcore medicine pathways. And the most commonly opted is to be a specialist, the path on which I am traveling as a medicine resident. So currently you are an undergraduate in first MBBS, pursuing the degree of Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery. You have first MBBS with subjects of Anat Physio and Biochem, second MBBS with subjects of Pathophysio, Pathopharmac and Microbiology, third MBBS part 1 with Community Medicine, ENT, Ophthalmology and Forensic Medicine, and third MBBS part 2, which is the most scary one, has medicine, surgery, OBGYN, pediatrics, dermatology, psychiatry, TB and chest, anesthesia, radiology, orthopedics, and so on. Don't worry, the third MBBS part 2, you are going to start right from second year from your clinical postings. So this is going to take around 4.5 years. Then you have a mandatory internship of 1 year, followed by a UG bond of X years. I'm not mentioning a specific number because the UG bond will differ according to state. Some states may not even have the UG bond. Some states, most of the states have 1 year, and some states may have even more. So that is MBBS. After MBBS, now to be a specialist, you go into post-graduation. You want to pursue a degree. That degree can be either MD, that is Doctor of Medicine, or MS, that is Master in Surgery. MD can be pursued in non-clinical branches of Anat Physio, Biochem, Pathopharmac, Microbiology, Preventive and Social Medicine, and Forensic Medicine. It can be done in Clinical branches of medicine, pediatrics, dermat, psychiatry, TB chest, anesthesia, radiology, radiotherapy, and nuclear medicine. While MS can be done in clinical branches of surgery, orthopedics, OBGYN, ENT, and ophthalmology. The duration is around 3 years. And then you have PG bond of say Y years. So now you have done with MBBS and you have a post graduation. And so that is 5.5 plus X of MBBS. Then 3 years of PG plus Y years of bond. And now you are not going to restrict yourself. And if you want to pursue something called as subspecialization, a more appropriate word than super specialization, then you have the degrees of Doctorate of Medicine, DM, and Magister Chirurgie, MCH. So a DM can be done mostly after MD Medicine or MD Pediatrics, but not strictly after those. There are other options as well. And you can pursue a career in cardiology, gastrointestinal medicine, endocrinology, oncology, hematology, neurology, nephrology, geriatric medicine for old patients, emergency medicine, critical care, ICU management, pulmonology, infectious diseases, and rheumatology. While MCH can be done in cardiovascular thoracic surgery, the big surgeons of heart transplant, bypass. Then we have oncosurgery, plastic surgery, gastrosurgery, neurosurgery, pediatric surgery, and urology. This is going to take around 3 years, and this is going to follow super specialty or subspecialty bond of Z years. So we have 5.5 years of MBBS plus X years of UG bond, 3 years of post-graduation plus Y years of PG bond, 3 years of super specialization plus Z years of super specialty bond. And this XYZ in the state of Maharashtra, X is 1 year. And if you want to break it, you have to pay 10 lakhs. Y, that is PG bond, is for 1 year. And if you want to break it, it's 50 lakhs. And Z is 1 to 2 years. And if you want to break the super specialty bond, it is 1 to 2 crores rupees only. So in short, it is 15.5 years of a medical journey to be that expert after your 12th standard. So 12 plus 15.5. And all of this will hold true if you have done everything in the first attempt. Else, it's going to be even a longer journey. Say you still want to be expert in that particular field and you are not going to restrict yourself even after subspecialization or super specialization, then you have something called as fellowships and training, where most of the Indian doctors try to go abroad and do fellowships and training in India. They can be done in India, they can be done abroad. For example, cardiology. After you are a DM cardiologist, you can even further specialize into interventional cardiology. That is, you are going to do only interventional procedures or cardiac imaging, fetal echocardiography, cardiac MRIs, and electrophysiological studies. That is, you are going to look only at the conduction system of the heart, radio frequency ablation, and all those things. So it is going to take about 1 to 2 years. Then we have a shortcut to a degree, that is a diploma. And even more inferior to that, we have certificate courses. So what exactly is diploma? Diploma takes a shorter period of time, focuses on vocational and technical skills. PG diplomas are completed after bachelor degrees and awarded by certain universities. While a certificate course is even smaller and inferior to a diploma, and it is usually short duration, and you are just given a certificate that so and so course has been taken by so and so doctor, and he has a certificate, he is certified to do so and so things. But now if you are pursuing a diploma, that is, if you are doing DNB, that is a Diplomate of National Board, the government has made it equal to the degree. So now diploma and degree are equivalent in the field of medicine. As of Jan 2018, these are the various options and seats that are available for DNB. Mostly it is 2 to 3 years plus minus bond. So most of the times a diploma is of shorter duration. That is why 2 years has been mentioned. It may be for 3 years as well, and it may or may not have a bond. But there are some exceptions. Cardiothoracic surgery, neurosurgery, pediatric surgery, and plastic surgery have diploma courses of 6 years straight after your MBBS. So to summarize, on the path to be a specialist, there's a fierce competition. You have to give NEET PG or next, and only a selected people are going to make it on this pathway. Do you know that around 1.5 lakh undergraduates, that is post MBBS students, appear for NEET PG every year, and there are around say 48,000 seats, of which maybe 25,000 will be clinical branches, of which maybe 16,000 are going to be clinical branches in government hospitals, and then you are going to get the top branch, the top college, the dream college of your dream branch. So that is the level of difficulty for getting into post-graduation in medicine. That is why you need to have brilliant mind. You need to work hard. You have to sacrifice a lot. You need to study day and night. You have to have self-determination. And yes, obviously, if you're doing all of this, you are going to enjoy high economic returns. That is why you are going to be highly demanding branch. And currently, this is the most opted pathway. And it's a long process and telescopic vision. So the next question comes, if I want to be a specialist, should I do it in India or should I pursue it abroad? So what are the abroad options that are available? The most common are USA, that is through USMLE, or UK through PLAB or UKMLA, and after post-graduation by MRCP, MRCS, and MRCOG. Other options are Canada by MCCQE, Germany by FP and KP exams, Australia through AMC, Gulf through DHA and HAAD exams, and New Zealand through NZREX. But to go or not to go is the question. So I consulted a lot of people who are studying, who want to go abroad, and I just asked them about various reasons, and the common reasons that I found are, why to go is developed countries, so a higher standard of living, higher economic returns in that is your salary, greater research opportunities due to better health infrastructure, no caste reservations, lesser corruption, lesser traffic, lesser pollution, and lesser population, and in some rare cases, personal issues like gender, because social acceptance may be different in different countries. But there's a question, why not to go? And the most important thing is brain drain. Brain drain is a phenomenon as in the scholars of one country leave to a developed country. So ultimately the contribution is of their intelligence is enjoyed more by the developed country rather than the developing country. And this has been happening in India for a long time, and that is why it's a hot topic in the news as well. Second is patriotism. You are very patriotic about your country, then you feel that you should not go. Third is feeling of belongingness. You have grown up in a country, so you definitely have a sense of belongingness to it. You might feel a sense of foreignness when you decide to go abroad. Ultimately, it is your aim that you have to be happy. So think about it as well. Why not to go also includes family. Sometimes your parents may not wish that you settle abroad. They want you to be here around in India. The Indian culture, the diverse culture, you want to do community service and improve things here. And remember that India is a country of 1 billion people. That is why we have 1 billion problems. And that is why there are opportunities to create billion solutions. So in a very unbiased way, I will not guide you whether or not you should go for it, but in a very unbiased way, what I would say, what factors you should consider on how to decide. So the first question that you need to ask is, what is your final aim? Whether you want to settle in India or you want to settle abroad. If you want to settle abroad, then it is better to do a post graduation abroad. If you want to settle in India, it is better to do a residency in India itself. The main reason why I'm saying this is the epidemiology of a disease. So if I want to pursue field of medicine and I want to do a post graduation in general medicine, it is important that I do my residency in India, because if I go abroad, I'm not well aware of the diseases like tuberculosis. And how do I treat these common diseases in one country by going to another? So this is the most important thing that one needs to consider. Does that mean that after post-graduation, the doors of foreign are closed? No. As I had already mentioned, after post-graduation, after super specialization, there are fellowships and training programs as well, where you can apply abroad and come back to India. But my recommendation is that if you want to settle in a particular country, do your basic training, that is the post-graduation and super specialization in that particular country. Then second is family interests. What does your family expect of you? What are your personal interests? Where do you visualize yourselves 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line? Economic feasibility. Going to countries like USA through USMLE, it's a journey of around 20 to 30 lakhs that has to be invested. Yes, at some point of time, you are going to reimburse that amount, but is it really possible, economically feasible for you and your family to go on this path? Do think about it. And yes, the decision is yours and you have to live with that decision. So second path is to be a doctor on ground. So as I had mentioned, not all are going to get into the specialty program. A lot of people are not going to get seats into specialty programs, that is post graduation. So what are the options that are available post MBBS? Or there are some doctors who want to be a doctor who knows superficial knowledge of all aspects, as in they want to suture wounds as well, they want to treat patients like a physician as well, they want to give gynecological advices as well. So if you want to be a holistic doctor with superficial knowledge of everything, immediately post MBBS you can have your own self-employed private practice. You can join corporate hospitals and insurance companies as doctors. You can join civil and government hospitals. Apart from these, there are some other options like being into combined medical services by the CMS examination, which is conducted by UPSC. And you are posted as officer for healthcare posts in various departments of Government of India. The age eligibility is to give that exam before 32, and it's relaxed for other caste reservations, and it is given after graduation, that is after post MBBS. Important thing to note about this is Indian Medical Services Program. It has been proposed. I have not put it on the slide because it is still in a logist. It is not on practice basis, but keep your eyes open if you want to pursue career through CMS or Indian Medical Services. Next is army doctors. There are people who want to serve the nation, very patriotic. You want to serve the army, you will get a good salary, and there's a diverse amount of work. But yes, you may have to work in extreme situations, various mission camps, and possibly wars. I hope not. There are people who want to do extreme, getting involved into community service. There are organizations like Floating Doctors. It's an international organization providing medical care to remote coastal areas. It is like being a doctor providing temporary medical coverage when normal services are otherwise unavailable. You can just visit their website as the pic is shown here. Then there is Doctors Without Borders, which is an international humanitarian medical non-governmental organization of French origin, best known for its projects in conflict zones and in countries affected by endemic diseases. Yes, you can be a doctor as well as be a social activist. A great example of this are Honorable Dr. Abhay and Rani Bang, who have founded SEARCH, that is Society for Education, Action and Research in Community Health. It's a non-profit organization which is involved in rural health service and research in the Gadchiroli district of Maharashtra, and it has substantially reduced infant mortality. And there are many such examples. Now let's talk about pathways after MBBS and also beyond medicine. Now we are going to talk about medicine plus pathways, that you are going to use the field of medical education that you have pursuing into your career with additional some kind of knowledge that you need to pursue. So first is path 3, that is to public health. Public health is the science and art of preventing disease, prolonging life, and promoting health through the organized efforts and informed choices of society, organizations, public and private communities, and individuals. So you can pursue masters in public health. It can be done in India or can be done in top colleges abroad like Harvard, Johns Hopkins. You can pursue masters in global and international health and ultimately end up working for World Health Organization or UNICEF. There's a path to medical jurisprudence. Medical jurisprudence or legal medicine is the branch of science and medicine involving the study and application of scientific and medical knowledge to legal problems such as inquests and in the field of law. So by pursuing a career in this, you can be a clinical forensic medical advisor, or I would say Dr. Sherlock Holmes. You can be forensic psychiatrist. You can be a medical advisor or medical scientific liaison, and you can pursue a extra degree in as LLB and LLM. Then there's a path to hospital management. Hospital management mainly relates to management of all aspects of hospital and coordination of all elements of hospital. It may be related to direct medical care, or it may be non-medical issues as well. So basically you are the head of the institution or maybe the dean of a particular institution. So what you can do is take an additional master's in hospital administration, or you can do an MBA in hospital administration. Path 6 is to medical science and technology. It is a unique program to bridge the gap between biological science, engineering, and physical science. So I was just discussing a few things with my friends in IIT, and what they said is medicine is the untapped field for engineers, as in considering the concept of Red Sea and Blue Sea. Medicine is something of sort of a blue sea for engineers. With biomedical engineering, telemedicine, and artificial intelligence coming up and developing rapidly over the time, this is an evolving branch. You can also pursue a career in health informatics and analytics, ultimately end up working at companies like Google, and you can also do a master's in medical science and technology. Path 7 are some other unexplored paths. You can do a career in health and medical journalism and writing. But yes, it's not necessary that you have to pursue a separate career. You can also be a specialist and try to get into this career as well. A great example for this and inspiration for me is Dr. Atul Gawande. If you have heard about him, he's a great author, New York bestseller. He has written quite good books, and he is a surgeon as well as director of public health at Harvard University. Then you can explore the field of medical tourism. medical tourism is especially gaining significance in India. You can explore the field of medical education. Uh, it's a sad state that I feel a lot of coaching classes are commercially exploiting our undergraduates in the field of medical education. Somehow, it we need to devise ways to provide the medical education at lesser, cheaper rates and quite efficiently. So this is something that one can work upon. As doctors, you can be advisors to pharma companies. There is a field of aviation medicine. So if your dream as a child was to become a pilot and now you have taken up medicine, this is some field that you can look up to. It's available in India. There are some physical requirements as well. You will get the training, but you ultimately end up looking at the health of pilots. And there's a branch of space medicine now that we have decided, we as humans have decided to try our exploration to moon and Mars. So this is something that is coming up. It is not really in function in India, but uh, such programs are available in US, and you can ultimately end up at NASA. And there are other fields of genetics, nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, and so on. Now coming to the last part, that is outside medicine pathways. As in you pursued a medical education, but your career is juxta medicine. Your career may need the knowledge of medical education, or it was like your career could have been done even without your medical education. That is the path to class 1 UPSC class 1 officer. That is Indian Foreign Services, the most top preferred, then IAS, IPS, and IRS. And it has to be done post, if it can be done after MBBS graduation. There's a fierce competition, but I realized that approximately there are at least 3 to 4 people in every batch who are pursuing this career. And after speaking to them, I realized that for most of them, medicine is the backup plan. Their primary aim was always to pursue UPSC. Just because someone from their family mandated them to take up medicine because they had good marks, that is why they are just still on the path of MBBS. This is happening because people are not well informed about the career pathways as for college students. Yes, doctors are cream of the society, so there is a relatively higher success rate of doctors cracking these exams. There's a huge amount of glamour, but it comes with a huge sense of responsibility. You are always in the spotlight. And it brings us to the question, is the pen of an IFS officer or an IS officer mightier than the scalpel of a surgeon? I know it is like comparing an apple to an orange, but just give it a thought. We come to the later half of the lecture, that is opportunities for personal growth. So every person in this world is on his unique journey, and a huge aspect of this journey is your own personal growth. Personal growth is something that has to be worked for. So in the next couple of minutes, we will discuss a few things that will ensure that your personal growth never stagnates. But before that, we need to understand what personal growth is and why is it so important. No one is born perfect, and perfection is never achieved, no matter how hard you try. But with dedication and perseverance, you can ensure that you are drawing close to your ideal self. Note that there is a difference. It's not about being the perfect person or ideal person, but it is about being the best version of yourself. So personal growth means improving your awareness and developing your ideal identity, maximizing your talents and potential, making necessary changes to help you achieve your most important goals, and live a life that is enjoyable and fulfilling as possible. There are 5 areas of personal growth: mental, social, physical, emotional, and spiritual. Mental growth, this is something I think most of us are going to do as through MBBS, throughout the MBBS, as we have a huge curriculum. But apart from the medical education, try to learn new things like taking an extra class, reading a book, or watching an informational video on YouTube to improve your mental skills. Social, this category is all about improving your communication. In my opinion, this is the most overlooked thing. However, remember that social personal development is a very important activity when it comes to clinical practice. Learning a new language, practicing your public skills, giving a effective presentation, committing to doing more active listening are all the activities that can help with social personal development. Physical, physical is not just about exercising and having a good physique, but also extends to eating habits and sleeping habits, getting a good sleep, sleep hygiene. Emotional, it includes tracking of your mood. How were you feeling today? How did I feel over the last 1 week? How did I feel over the last 1 month? And if there are any alarms, do I need to speak to a friend? Do I need to speak to a counselor? And finally, spiritual, that is, activities that fall under this category are spending some time in a prayer, or taking a walk in nature, or just meditating. But remember that being spiritual does not have anything to do with one's belief in God. You Religion has nothing to do with being spiritual. So, if you think of the body and the mind as the tools for reaching your goal, then think of your personal growth as the process of honing and sharpening these tools. That is why I suggest 4 most important strategies for personal growth. First, step out of your comfort zone. It is difficult to grow if you don't challenge yourself. Personal growth comes from trying new things, from pushing boundaries and expanding your horizons. Example, traveling to a new land or taking up a new hobby is challenging yourself. Remember that carbon and diamond are both chemically coal and diamond are both chemically carbon, but it is the pressure that they are subjected to makes the difference. It applies the same into life. Stepping out of the comfort zone and challenging yourself with something new is similar to that. It is always nice to remain in the good stress part. Bad stress is harmful for the health, but good stress is something that will promote in your life. Second, draw inspiration from others. Learning from others is a great way to broaden your horizons. It may range from learning from the people in your circle, that is your family and friends, or to researching the lives of prominent figures, role models, and stalwarts in medicine. Every person out there is a living and ongoing story, and a mixture of both good and bad. But we should try to look good in people and get inspired from them. Third is finding ways to continue learning. It is nearly impossible to grow if you aren't learning new things. Today, we live in the world where knowledge and information is accessible than ever before. On just one click, you have access to Google. On one click, you have access to YouTube, Wikipedia, up to date, etc. They hold tons of data such that even lifetime would be insufficient just to scratch the surface of data that they hold. So keep learning. And fourth, schedule time for self-improvement. I know we get busy, you're pursuing MBBS, we get caught up in daily activities, and we often tend to neglect personal growth. We need to set aside some time for personal growth. Try to commit at least 30 minutes a day to learn a new skill. The point is creating a proper time management system for a long list of things to do. And sorry, So what are the various opportunities for personal growth that are available at St. GS Medical College? I would recommend that you do at least one activity beyond books, and it will help you impart skills in leadership, innovativeness, organizational skills, management skills, public speaking skills, techno savvy skills, and financial literacy as well. Have you heard about the word Kupa Manduka Vritti? My granny used to tell stories about this. Kupa Manduka Vritti is Kupa is well, Manduk is a frog, and Vritti is the nature. So don't be like a frog in the well who thinks that the well is the world. Expand your horizons by taking leaps of outside that well. So what are the various activities that are available at SETGS? We have Confluence, which is annual UG and PG academic conference. We have Aspire, recently formed, which is Association for Support and Propagation of Innovation, Research and Education. We have Medicinas Academicas, an initiative by MBBS students of 2019 for Anat Physio Biochem. We have our MBBS syllabus itself, which is huge for mental growth. There are a lot of quizzes, especially in the city of Mumbai, where we have 5 colleges, government colleges, and other 3 private colleges competing with each other and having so many conferences, quizzes, symposia, academic discussion forums. There are ongoing activities of journal clubs and research activities. There are workshops. Apart from medicine, you have non-medical book reading. YouTube is a very important teacher for even for academic as well as non-academic skills like music and dance. And Medambra is a project which is coming up soon. We have cultural event like Avishkar Fest, which goes on for about 4 days. In that we have a stage dance event called as Dreams. We have Apurvai, which is the Marathi dance and drama event. We have Alfaz, which is the Hindi dance and drama event. Fahrenheit is the fashion show. Advait is the competition of Marathi drama. We have the Department of Medical Humanities, which is trying to bring humanity in medicine through poetry, music, drama, dance, literature, and philosophy. And we have their annual conference called as Ascension. If you want to grow emotionally, you can go for social volunteering camps, community service camps, and initiative by one of our ex-GSI, Dr. Mayur Vector, who tries to teach children. If you are for physical growth, there are things like cricket, basketball, tennis, badminton, football. You have a lot of marathons going around in Mumbai. There are trekking camps, trekking clubs. If you are interested in literary work, there's Gosumag, which is the official annual magazine of SETGS. There's GS Poetry's page, which is welcoming entries from GSites, KEmites, and alumni to showcase their works beyond the books. There's Larynx, which is the official newsletter of SETGS. So, to point out, there are 3 types of personalities when it comes to career. There is an I-shaped personality, which goes this way: expert in one thing, that is MBBS, then MD medicine, then DM cardiology, and I am expert in that, but my skills in presentation, financial literacy, etc. remain poor. While the generalist type is something like jack of all trades but master of none. He is expert at nothing. But what I urge you to become is a T-shaped personality, capable of a lot of things but expert in one. So what is this T-shape? So you have this broad horizontal strip, which is ability to work outside of a core area, but a deep vertical limb, which is your specialty in which you are an expert. Most of you would realize who this person is. It's Elon Musk. And he has worked in so many companies and has been founder at so many companies. And he keeps a very busy schedule at SpaceX, then Tesla, then SpaceX, then Tesla, and family. Time management is important for personal growth. But it's a different topic altogether. So we won't be discussing that in detail. You can visit my page, Dr. Sushruti Ngable, on Facebook and find this video, Time Management for First MBBS Students. But I'll tell you one technique that has helped me a lot. It is called as the Eisenhower matrix. So suppose you have a lot of activities to do. You have an assignment, you want to read a novel, you want to exercise, you want to watch television as well. Then you categorize all daily activities into 4 parts: important and urgent, important but not urgent, not important but urgent, not important, not urgent. And 1, 2, 3, 4 is the sequence. You do the important and urgent things right away. You decide to do important but not urgent things. The things that are not important but urgent, you try to delegate them. The things that are not important and not urgent, try to delete them from your schedule. And this is something you need to remember for your life. These are a few lines by a renowned Marathi writer, Purushottam Lakshman Deshpande, that go this way. आयुष्यात मला भावलेलं एक गुज सांगतो. उपजीविकेसाठी आवश्यक असणाऱ्या विषयाचं शिक्षण जरूर घ्या. पोटा पाण्याचा उद्योग जिद्दीनं करा, पण एवढ्यावरच थांबू नका. साहित्य, चित्र, संगीत, नाट्य, शिल्प, खेळ यातल्या एखाद्या तरी कलेशी मैत्री जमवा. पोटा पाण्याचा उद्योग तुम्हाला जगवील, पण कलेशी जमलेली मैत्री तुम्ही का जगायचं हे सांगून जाईल. To those who do not understand Marathi, in a nutshell, it means your career will make your living, but your passion, your hobbies will make your life worth living. So on a personal note, I would like to say something. Opportunities don't happen. You have to create them. Opportunities will come and go, but it is you who has to grasp them. You need to identify them, grasp them, and use them for your fullest personal growth. It will never be a smooth journey. It will be a life of ups and downs. So create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life, because you become what you believe. Life is very short, and that is what makes it precious. So stop wasting your life and or living someone else's life, but make yours count for something. Say no to all those shitty excuses that come to your mind, and keep going to be someone who your institution will feel proud about, so that one day you can proudly say, it cannot be inherited nor it can be purchased. I have earned it with my blood, sweat, and tears. I own it forever. The title, Seth GS Medical College graduate. Thank you. Wish you all the best. Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra.